What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. We're on verdict watch today. Just so you know, I've got the live stream ready to go. I've got Mountain Dew and trail mix and healthy snacks ready to go. So the moment the jury is reported as coming back in the Donald Trump trial, I will go live on my Quartercast channel, which I'll link in the pinned comment down below, as well as my Mean Green channel on that green site. If you haven't yet downloaded the app for that, please do, and follow my channel there. It's going to be a wild day, but there's also a lot of updates in the Trump trial from this morning. As of 8:38 a.m., court was back in session. Donald Trump was there rocking a sweet blue tie. And as of 8:41 this morning, the jury had already sent a new note to the judge with additional questions. Yesterday, a jury had reached out to the judge and asked several questions, I believe 4 in total, 3 around one individual's, the prosecution's testimony, as well as one around their star witness, which turned out to be a disaster, Michael Cohen. At 9:32 a.m. this morning, 2 notes were sent. Merchant said there was a new note from the jury. It came this morning at 9:32 after 2 notes were sent yesterday. The jury had already requested the jury instructions, which are 50 pages long. The jury instructions are 50 pages long, and the jury is not allowed to have them in the room with them. Think about that. 50 pages of instructions to be a juror, and you don't get to have it in the deliberation room. Check this out.
I got it. These are the instructions that the jury has to follow in Donald Trump's hush money trial before they can reach a verdict. 53 pages. This is complicated. This is lengthy stuff. It took the judge over an hour to read it, but guess what? The jury doesn't get this in the room during deliberations. They have to write questions, they can write notes, but they don't get these instructions. In New York, both parties have to agree and the judge has to agree. And in this case, it didn't happen. They don't have this in the room right now.
That's so wild to me. Now, I don't know if that's actually good or bad, to be honest with you. Like, do you think it's good or bad that the jury is confused? I suppose a level of confusion, frustration might lead to, I guess, just throwing your hands up and being like, well, I don't even know what in the heck I'm supposed to do. I don't even know what the heck, who knows? That's so wild to me. So then the note this morning appears to clarify which part of the jury instructions they actually wanted to hear. So the jury had already requested the jury instructions. The note appears to be part of the instructions they want to hear. They wanted to hear the part about, quote, how the jury considers the evidence and what inferences can be drawn from the facts. Essentially, to put like a fine point on it, the jury's confused. There's total confusion among the jury. Who could blame them? 53 pages of instructions you're supposed to memorize. All you did is hear them once. The jury also requested headphones to be used with the evidence laptop, and the judge says yes to the request, and that they could have speakers, which makes more sense, obviously. Then 8:51 this morning, the jury came back into the courtroom, and at 8:56, Trump has to be present for all of this. The judge reread the part of the jury instructions as requested by the jury. The portion details to the consideration of the evidence in the case. Merchant read that when they judge the fact, they are only to include the evidence. He also read that the exhibits received into evidence are available upon request. Merchant read that when they are evaluating the evidence, the jury may consider the fact that it is proven as well as inference from the facts. Trump was asleep during this portion, apparently. Now, at 9:25, the quotes that the judge read were Judge Merchant reading. Under our law, Judge Merchant reading back the jury instructions on how to evaluate witness credibility. So this could mean that they don't think Cohen's credible. And I guess I'm not shocked by that. I would totally assume that they think he's not credible. He admitted to grand larceny on the stand. So the judge said, quote, under our law, Michael Cohen is an accomplice because there is evidence that he participated in a crime based upon conduct involved in the allegations here against the defendant. Our law is especially concerned about the testimony of an accomplice who implicates another in the commission of a crime particularly when the accomplice has received, expects, or hopes for a benefit in return for his testimony. Jurors took notes when the judge talked about the need for evidence to corroborate what Cohen was saying, given he was considered an accomplice in the case. The testimony from David Pecker would be one of the ways that Cohen's testimony could be corroborated. So essentially, I don't think that they believe Michael Cohen. Nobody believes Michael Cohen in general, like in the general public of people who are not insane. I would argue that's not surprising. Of course, Trump appears to sleep during a readback of the jury instructions. I mean, I don't know. His eyes might be closed there. Who could blame him? I mean, the guy has to sit in basically a concrete room all day, drinking his Diet Cokes and waiting to be called back into the courtroom. Now, the jury will be, I think they'll have, but so they're back at it as of 9:30 this morning. So they have 8 straight hours outside of a lunch break to kind of bang through this stuff. I'm hoping that we get a verdict today, although I suspect if it's not today, it will almost certainly be tomorrow. And I'm just being totally, I'm just speaking to the human aspect of a jury or juror, and lawyers would obviously be able to speak better to this, but I don't think they want to sit there over the weekend. They've already been a part of this case for this long. I think that they have no interest at all in spending the weekend there. So I'm guessing they have this locked down by the end of the week. I could be wrong about that. I would say there is a 60 to 70% chance they come back late this afternoon with a verdict. If not today, there is a near 90% chance that will happen by tomorrow. That's just my opinion. 2 court staff members then read back the testimony this morning of David Pecker from the transcript misspelling. The jury requested that testimony about taking a call from Trump while he was in an investors meeting. They also requested his testimony on the Karen McDougal life rights deal and a meeting at Trump Tower. The jury requested testimony of Michael Cohen about the Trump Tower stuff. Then at 9:45 this morning, court staff read the testimony about the McDougal deal. Court staff is reading back Pecker's testimony about the deal to buy McDougal's life rights. It included a conversation he had with Donald Trump on the phone about doing a deal to buy the McDougal story. He did not push Trump to pay him back the $150,000 for McDougal's life rights. He also testified that it happened in October 2016, and he spoke to Michael Cohen that it was a bad idea. He testified that Cohen started screaming and said the boss is going to be very angry. He also had concerns and testified that he was not going forward, period. He said the company was never reimbursed by Trump. Then at 9:48, they read other parts of the meeting about Trump Tower, and then jurors during this time have paid close attention to the reading of the testimony about the Trump Tower meeting. 6 jurors could be seen writing notes as his testimony about the August 2015 meeting with Trump was read out. They paid close attention when the part about him promising to be the eyes and ears of the campaign was read out. Okay, so that's interesting. Now you see back as 10:19 or 10:17, the jury went back in, has now concluded the testimony and has resumed deliberation. The jury has now left the courtroom and continues deliberation at 11:15 a.m. I assume that means 10:15 Central, 11:15 Eastern. So they're back in there. The jurors, the 12 Manhattan residents have Donald Trump's fate in their hands right now. It'll be interesting to see, what that looks like. Of course, we know all about the jurors. You have a large male group here. It looks like you got 1 female, 2 females, 3, 4, 5. 5 females out of 12, 7 males. It's going to be interesting. Trump definitely bothered by Melania not showing up at court. Former White House aide says, don't care about that. It just matters whether or not they find him guilty. Ultimately, the media is going to try to spin this a number of ways. I think that they think that this is going to have some sort of grand effect on the election. You can see as of this morning, even according to left-leaning NPR, Trump verdict would likely move only a small number of votes, poll finds. Most people say the outcome of former President Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York City would not have an impact on their vote in 2024 presidential campaign, but it could have an effect in some key groups, according to the latest poll. The full survey reveals Overall, 2/3 said a guilty verdict would make no difference to their vote. 3/4 said the same of a not guilty verdict. Roughly 1 in 6 voters, 17%, said a guilty verdict would make them less likely to vote for Trump. I don't believe that. That was true of a quarter of non-whites, 1 in 5 voters who make less than $50K a year, and those under 45. A not guilty verdict would have somewhat of an inverse effect of the guilty verdict. Almost 1 in 5 voters under 45 non-white, those who make less than $50K a year, and others said an acquittal would make them more likely to vote for Trump. I don't think that there are anywhere near enough votes in play. As I've said before, if you're already locked in on voting for Trump, does a guilty verdict change that? No. Does a non-guilty verdict change that? No. If Trump is found not guilty, is a single Biden voter going to flip from Biden to Trump? No. So I just don't see any number of actual people that really believe, and it comes down to, by the way, whether or not people believe there's any actual fairness in this trial. And I think that only somebody with severe terminal, late onset terminal Trump derangement syndrome would think that this trial is not a total sham. And therefore, the only people that think this trial is not a sham aren't voting for Trump anyway, whether he's guilty or not. The only people that think this trial is legit are people who aren't voting for him in the first place. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out, how we see, if we get back from them. So they're 11:15. So the jury, providing they have no more questions, has like 6 hours uninterrupted now to deliberate, decide over things, whether or not they believe Cohen. Again, a guilty verdict, obviously there'll be some level of financial fine to this, but it's not going to have a prison sentence. He's not going to jail. Sending him to jail would make him, win the election by a mega mile. A guilty verdict isn't going to dissuade many people from voting for him. It would be great to get a not guilty verdict because I don't think the prosecution proved their case, and a not guilty verdict would just be a good old fun meme time for more, for the Trump train. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. You think we're going to get the verdict today? If we get the verdict today, how do you think it shakes out? Hung jury, is that possible? I think the level of confusion definitely increases the likelihood that we're going to have a hung jury. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button down below so you get notified right when I go live covering the jury's return, as well as in the description, you can follow Quartercast right now. If you're a YouTube viewer, that's my live stream channel. So I'll be live there when the jury comes back. Or you can follow me on the old Mean Green site, the site that rhymes with Bumble, and follow the quartering there. Download that app, follow the quartering. You get notifications, actually. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you again real soon.